Mr. Bami, unfortunately, I didn't have the privilege of knowing him a lot. But I must say that I was introduced to the NDPC by the late Mr. Rajendra Singh. I still remember my association with him, and then on a couple of occasions he took me to some of these functions of the NDPC long before I became associated with the public sector in my capacity first as a member of the Public Enterprises Election Board and subsequently for almost 6 years as its chairman. So I sort of, with a certain amount of satisfaction, recollect my association with the Indian public sector. And I genuinely believe that people like Mr. Kapoor, Colonel Wahi, then Mr. Krishnamurthy, all of them played such a stellar role in building up the economy of this country at a time when, to recall the words of the President of India, which he uttered to a young crowd or a young group of students who were visiting him or who were with him recently at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He recalled a story about his childhood. He said when he was in the 5th or 6th class, his mother gave him a very precious gift of a pen, an imported pen. With great excitement, he wanted to use that. But lo and behold, there was no ink in this country which could be used in that pen. He said this to a group of youngsters. Stars in their eyes, hopes, aspirations. They're all Indians because their parents are all Indians. They are all students studying outside India. They came courtesy a television channel to witness the Republic Day parade and also to visit different parts of the country, particularly the border of India, Wagah border, Amritsar, etc., etc. And then they had this encounter with the President of India for about 40-45 minutes. And the President was so excited hearing two of them, a young boy and a young girl, who were talking about their aspirations and their vision about India and about what they have seen around. Well, most of us sitting in this room may not have much ideas of what India was long ago. Not long ago when we got independence, but the story which the Honorable President narrated or recounted brings to very bold relief the condition of India when it became independent. And from that to this day, when we are sending spacecrafts to the moon and the Mars and you name it, what a change, what a change. Most of the time, looking at this channel, that channel and the other, we feel despondent and we lose pride in what we have achieved. Well, oftentimes I wonder, is that the way in which we can build up an India of your vision, my vision, and more importantly than that, the vision of these youngsters? We have to offer them a vision of India. And in that vision of India, I believe, even today in building up that, the public sector has a huge, big role. And I'm quite sure nobody will contradict me when I say that in spite of all the changes that have taken place in this country, in its economy, and the role, the dominant role of the private sector, quite legitimately, I believe, the public sector has a big role to play. And people like Arup and others who are sitting here, at the helm of affairs of the public sector undertakings, have a tremendous responsibility and a great opportunity. I believe that. Not because I have been associated with the public sector for a long time, but that is my conviction arising out of what I am seeing all around. Without going into the minutiae of that, let me see that in the growth of the public sector, the most important, the most crucial role is that of its managers, its human resource potential. I 100% believe in that. And unfortunately, Arup, colleagues of yours who are in the hot seats at the moment, you forgive me when I say that, once in a while I get the feeling that we pay lip service to the concept of human resource management or development or whatever it is. But when it comes to brass tacks, when it comes to doing for a number of reasons, I have been a part of the system for long, I know that you are limitations of that. But I believe we are not able to do enough to motivate our people, basically to motivate the people. I think that is the bane of the system. I am often tempted to say now, I am still caged and all that kind of a thing, forget about that. But once in a while I dare saying that one of the greatest failures of government is that it is not capable of getting the best out of its people, whether they are in government, whether they are in the public sector. And what is the cause? Again, after spending 50 years in government, I believe that it is lack of motivation. Well, there are many of us who are self-motivated, but the large majority needs a pat on the back when they do a good thing. Motivation doesn't come through CVC's manuals and CAG reports. It's not by faulting people after the event that you build up the resources, that you build up the country. It has got to be done by human beings, and they are made of flesh and blood and emotions. They have to be understood as human beings, not as a capital, not as a plant, not as an equipment. They are human beings. The way in which Arup Roy Chowdhury will get motivated is different from the way in which Mr. C.P. Jain is. We tend to forget that. But I, in my heart of hearts, I believe that in that respect, in that limited respect, perhaps the private sector is doing better. It knows how to get the best out of a human being. Whatever may be the method it adopts, I don't know. I am not a party to that, I do not know. But as a system which has been sanctified by government, which institutions like the PSB operate, which, in terms of selecting its chief executives and directors and all that. But having said all that, I still believe, based on whatever I have seen in the past, say 10, 12 years, the chief executives and the senior executives, including the HR director, can play a determined role, a very important role in building up the human resource. The results may not be visible during their lifetime as CMDs or as directors. You see, we are all human beings. If Arup is able to commission, a 500 megawatt, 900 megawatt power plant in one part of the country, it's a tangible achievement about which he can be proud. But if he tries to develop a human resource, it is not visible. Therefore, we tend to forget that. This is what happens. It happens to me, it happens to all of us. But when you sit down and analyze, when you assess after you cease to be in charge directly of any operation, you realize that human beings have made the difference. They have contributed, most importantly, more than the capital, more than the equipment, in making a success of any venture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard quite a lot about the book, about the man of the evening or of the moment, Mr. Sinha. I am not going to go into that because it is a surfeit of all what has been said. I have known him for a long time, if I may say that, not as long as many others did. I know him when he and Mr. Jain were part of the NTPC and I was a part of the PSB, and as Professor Preetham Singh mentioned, I always had a feeling of inadequacy, in the sense that I thought that the processes which we adopted or which we were following for selecting the people was the right one. That I always had that that uncomfortable feeling. Certain attempts, and we had some very exciting times. I still remember what we tried to do about before the PSB interviews its candidates. I think we tried with NDPC. They are doing that only with you and Mr. Jain, because if I made it known to the Department of Personnel, they would stop me the next moment. So we tried it with NTPC, only NTPC. After that, that experiment didn't succeed. But I don't know whether you remember or not, the excitement with which we started that ultimately resulted in a book on the Indian CEOs brought about by the Hay consultants. Pritham Singh knows that. It was a study of the Indian CEOs, their competency modeling. I mean, in the hope that will give some clue to us. That book subsequently was released by the Prime Minister, but anyway, that was an attempt at finding out what distinguishes a successful Indian CEO. And one of the conclusions, or one of the points which came out of that book is the Indian CEO has got to spend disproportionately long time in managing the environment within courts compared to any other CEO anywhere else in the world. Well, I mean, that talks quite a lot about our system, of which fortunately or otherwise I have been a part for donkey's years. Well, Sinha Sahab, you have done a wonderful job. People who are more competent than I am, people who have at least a smattering of the book have spoken about it. No. I mean, look, I'm being very truthful about it. I can't tell a lie in the, to such a distinguished, gathering of very eminent people, some of whom are my friends. So, may I also repeat that, continue this, write another book, and hopefully you'll call me also. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. And before I conclude, I have one request, one point. I hope I'll be able to follow it, that all of us should buy your book.
Yeah.
Not get
Thank you
complimentary
very much,
copies.
sir.
Huh? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. As a token of our gratitude, I request Dr. Chaturvedi, Director BIMTech, to present a memento to our chief guest, Shri T.K.A. Nair.
Thank you, Chaturvedi. Thanks a lot. Oh, that's good.
I also request Director BIMTech, Dr. Chaturvedi, to present a token of gratitude to other dignitaries on the dais. Mr. D.V. Kapoor, Founding Chairman NTPC and Ex-Secretary Industries, Government of India. To Mr. P.S. Bami, to Shri Arup Roy Chaudhary, and to Dr. Pritham Singh. Thank you, sir. Now I request Ms. Nandita Bhardwaj, Chief Editor, Bloomsbury, India, to deliver vote of thanks.
On behalf of Bloomsbury, India, I would like to thank Mr. T.K.A. Nair for presiding over the occasion. I would also like to thank other eminent luminaries here on the panelists, Dr. Chaturvedi, Mr. Dwarkanath, Dr. Pritham Singh, Mr. Bami, Mr. Sahi, Mr. Arup Roy Chaudhary, and above all, Professor K.K. Sinha for resting his faith in Bloomsbury. It's been Bloomsbury's privilege to publish his book. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Finally, I take this opportunity to invite all of you to join us for the dinner. Thank you.
Abhinav?
Hello.